All right, cramming for that big entrepreneurship exam? Don't worry, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to do a super fast review of the key stuff you absolutely need to know to nail it.
Yeah, I know that feeling. That final is just staring you down, right? You feel that pressure to really lock in all those definitions and big ideas. Well, take a deep breath. We've got this.
Okay, here's the plan. In just the next few minutes, we are going to burn through the core concepts that'll have you walking into that test feeling totally confident. Ready? Let's do it.
All right, first things first, we have to nail the basics. Seriously, getting these definitions down pat is the foundation for almost every question you're going to see on that exam.
Okay, so what is an entrepreneur? At its core, it's a person. And here's the key thing to remember. They don't just sit on a good idea. Nope, they act on it. They're the ones who spot an opportunity and are willing to take on the risk. We're talking financial risk, personal risk, the whole shebang, to build something from the ground up.
Now listen up, because this is a huge distinction, and I could almost guarantee it'll be on your test. If the entrepreneur is the person, then entrepreneurship is the process. You get it? It's the how-to. It's all the steps you take, from spotting a problem to actually growing a business. And the coolest part? It's not magic. It's a process, which means it can be learned, and you can get really good at it.
Okay, so we've got the what. Now let's talk about the who. What's going on inside their heads? Let's get into the entrepreneurial mindset. What does it actually take to be successful?
Here's a fun way to remember this, and it really works. Think of them as rock stars. Seriously. Willie Nelson, Missy Elliott, what do they have in common with a tech founder? They're all rock star entrepreneurs. Just like a great musician, they've got this crazy mix of creativity, vision, and just pure grit that makes them stand out.
So what are these rock star traits you need to know? Well, they are passionate, they're visionary, they're not afraid of taking risks, they're creative, innovative, and super persistent. Oh, and they've got to be self-disciplined and amazing at multitasking, juggling a million things at once. I mean, think about it. Your favorite artist probably checks every single one of those boxes.
All right, moving on. Let's get into the different styles of entrepreneurship. Because, trust me, it's not a one-size-fits-all deal. Your exam might throw a question at you comparing these, so knowing the differences is key. And hey, who knows? Maybe this will help you figure out your own path one day.
Let's break down 3 main types. First, you've got your small business. The goal here is pretty straightforward. Build a stable, long-term income. Think about your local bakery or that repair shop down the street. Then you have the scalable startup. This is all about speed and growth. Think of a new tech app that's trying to get huge, fast. And finally, there's social entrepreneurship. This one's different. The primary goal isn't profit. It's solving a social problem, like a nonprofit that brings clean water to communities.
Okay, everybody lean in for this one. This is a classic exam question. You absolutely, 100%, have to know the difference between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur.
So what's the deal? It really all comes down to where they operate. The entrepreneur? They're the lone wolf, the independent trailblazer. They take on all the risk, but they also get all the reward. Now the intrapreneur, think of them as an entrepreneur, but on the inside. They're an employee inside a bigger company who comes up with innovative ideas. The company shares the risk, but that also means the intrapreneur shares the reward.
And here is the perfect real-world example. You've all heard of Post-it notes, right? Well, the guy who invented them, Art Fry, was an intrapreneur. He didn't quit his job at 3M to start a sticky note company. No, he used 3M's resources and time to develop his idea for a low-tack adhesive. He was a total innovator, just working within the company structure.
But there's a flip side to this, a cautionary tale, if you will. Kodak. Get this, they actually invented the first digital camera. Internally. But the leadership, they just failed to see its potential. They didn't have that entrepreneurial vision to run with their own amazing invention. And well, we all know what happened to Kodak. It's a perfect example of why big companies need to support their entrepreneurs.
All right, time for a reality check, because it's not all big ideas and success stories. Your exam is definitely going to ask about the tough stuff, the challenges, the risks. So let's bust some myths and talk about the real barriers.
Okay, let's start with the biggest myth of them all. This idea that to be an entrepreneur, you have to have some totally new, revolutionary, light bulb over your head idea. That's just not true.
Here's the fact. Most of the time, entrepreneurship is about innovation, not invention. What's the difference? It's about taking something that already exists and making it better, making it faster, cheaper,
finding a new use for it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, you just have to make it roll a little smoother.
And last but not least, what are the things that get in the way? You should definitely know these. First, access to capital. That's just a fancy word for funding or money. It's a huge hurdle. Then there's market competition, both direct and indirect. You also have to deal with all sorts of government regulations. And sometimes, the biggest barrier is just in your own head, being too afraid of risk to even start.
So, I want to leave you with this question to think about. Imagine you spotted a problem, something that bugs you, that nobody else seems to be solving. What's your first move? Now that we've gone through all this, I bet you have some ideas. Go crush that final. You've totally got this.